Thanks so much for coming. We'll call to order the February 4th Social and Economic Justice Commission meeting. As in keeping with the practice that I think began last year in these, and also with sometimes different text in council, want to begin with a recognition that we're meeting on lands that had been long tended for and cared for by a number of different Native peoples, including the Miwok and others, and that we are here in respect and honor of the care that they have long shown for the land. We're here for a February 4th meeting. Our first roll of business is the approval of the minutes. Does any? Roll call. That's right. Sorry, Isabel.
Sure. Commissioner Gary?
Here.
Commissioner Marks?
Here.
And Chair Downs?
Here. Thank you. All right, so our first order of business is the minutes of the January 7th meeting. Does anybody have any comments or a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as printed.
I second.
All right, we have a motion that's been seconded to approve those minutes. Any discussion? All right, shall we just call the ayes?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We have 2 absences, but otherwise. So at our next is public comment for people desiring to address the Commission on social and economic justice items not on the agenda. Please note that each speaker is limited to up to 3 minutes, and the Brown Act limits the Commission's ability to take and/or discuss items that are not on the agenda. Therefore, such items are normally referred to staff for comment or to a future agenda. Do we have any public comment? All right, seeing none, next is announcements. Do we have staff announcements for this meeting?
No, not at this time. I think everything is included in the agenda today.
Great.
I just have one quick announcement. One of our long-term homeless, Mama Bear, she was one of the people that was at the bulb, and she didn't have good mobility when they closed down the bulb and got her into an apartment that didn't really work for her. It was 2 stories, and she couldn't really get upstairs. So she didn't stay there long, but she just got housed last week in a wonderful 2-bedroom apartment, and the other bedroom is her caretaker. So it's like the most perfect situation. She loves it, her caretaker loves it, her dog loves it. And so this is the first time, I've been with the shower program for 4 years, that last year and this year, the first time we're seeing people housed in really good housing that it appears they can stay in it, which is really important, because a lot of those that got housed after they closed the bulb didn't stay in the housing. So the fact that they're in good housing that actually works for them and they can stay, and I think it's like the best news ever that she's housed and is happy, and she's an Albany icon, I think, Mama Bear. She took care of all the teenagers that ran away to the bulb, so that's how she got that name. Anyway, I think that's really great news, and I'm really happy.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other commission announcements?
No announcements at this time.
Okay. All right, our first item of business after that is presentations, and we have Anne Marie Heineman from the Albany CARES.
Yes, so Anne-Marie's here, and she will present all the wonderful work that she's been doing. I will just go over a little bit of the background on how we got to have a program called Albany CARES. So basically, if the Social and Economic Justice Commission researched the feasibility of a community resource center as a venue for Albany residents to receive information and referrals to services available, and asked Council to consider the inclusion of the development of a 1-year pilot program for a community resource center as part of the Council's strategic plan. And this happened in 2017, and the project was approved for inclusion in 2017 as a 1-year resource center pilot program. So the Community Resource Center opened on September 8th, 2017 at the Albany United Methodist Church Community Hall, and days and hours of operations were on Wednesdays and Fridays from 10 to 1. The main goal of this center was to connect residents to services available at a location within the city of Albany. And the center was staffed by a part-time resource center director and 8 volunteers. Although it was a one-year pilot, the resource center did close prematurely after 5 months in operation due to loss of staffing. So on March 19, 2018, the City Council held a study session to review the Community Resource Center 5-month pilot project. And the Social and Economic Justice Commission made the following recommendation at the study session. And it was to employ an at least 50% time human services resource coordinator and to be available to Albany residents in need by phone, internet, and in-person consultation, and be available to other city staff who may encounter persons in need of assistance, and visit key locations within the city to outreach services and coordinate with other agencies that provide services to Albany residents. Another part of the recommendation also included to designate a space in the annex for the Human Services Resource Coordinator to hold weekly consultations with residents, and then to continue to monitor the use and effectiveness of these services and report regularly to the City Council and the Social and Economic Justice Commission on services used and needs in the Albany community. So the Albany program, CARES program, started in January 2019. So we move up about a few more months after that, and was staffed by 1 part-time program director and 5 volunteers, and that's when Anne-Marie came on board. And also not mentioned in the staff report is that while we did not have a staff person, the program was also continued by volunteers during that time frame. And those volunteers remain today and are here in the audience. Some of them are here in the audience. Albany CARES provides, and then we also changed the name. Anne-Marie came up with this really wonderful name, Albany CARES, and CARES stands for Community Access to Resources and Services. And it provides outreach, assistance, and referrals to resources and services that support Albany's most vulnerable and low-income residents. We kept the same program drop-in hours as the pilot project. So they are on Wednesdays and Fridays from 10 to 1. And in the annex at the senior center, it took a little while to get there, but we are now situated permanently in that location. And it provides a welcoming environment where services are tailored to each client's unique needs. And as you know, Albany CARES has been providing quarterly reports to the Social and Economic Justice Commission, which includes client tracking of outreach activities, client demographics, information, type of services requested, and referrals provided. An annual report, this marks the 1-year mark of the program, is attached to the staff report, and Anne-Marie will also go over the report in more details with you. And the data spans from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. So as the SCJC did in March of 2018, it is part of your work plan and the council's strategic plan for the commission to basically consider recommendations to the City Council on services use and needs in Albany. And so basically what staff would like to request is, as you receive information from Anne-Marie today and consider and if you have any considerations that you would, or recommendations that you would like council to know, please let us know, because we will be presenting the Albany CARES program to the council probably in March or April. So any recommendations or feedback received today would be included in the staff report to council. Okay. The other option is if you have a lot of feedback and would prefer to write something yourself, you could also form subcommittee that would, there is a little bit of time for that. So if you wanted a more formal, extensive recommendation from the commission, you could also elect to select a subcommittee or one person to do a memo or write-up that could be reviewed by the commission at the next meeting. There would still be a little bit of time for that too. Okay. So with that, I will leave it up to Anne-Marie to proceed with her presentation.
So I know I have a pretty receptive audience. But no, we're pretty excited about the work that we've been doing. We've been seeing a lot of people, and we've been seeing some good results. So you have the report in terms of numbers, and I reported on each quarter how many people we saw during our drop-in times, and then also our contacts with clients through other means. People call on the phone, email, and sometimes I meet with people in person at the senior center or different places. We do once in a while go and see somebody at home or in an outside space if it seems necessary. We don't do that very often. So in the first quarter, and these contacts are counting people more than once. So when I say we had 65 drop-in contacts in the first quarter, that might be including a person who comes twice a week for weeks. They would count for each time they come. So in the first quarter, we had 65 drop-in contacts, and then it went up by the last quarter, which was October, November, December, we had 168 contacts. And that we had many fewer drop-in sessions in that last quarter because we had some weeks that we were closed over Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then the other contacts, we had, almost as many contacts with people through other means as the drop-in. We do get quite a lot of phone calls at this point, and we communicate by email with people, and also, face-to-face meetings that aren't during our drop-in hours. So then you see below the total, which is the drop-ins and the non-drop-in, and the number of drop-in days we had for that quarter. And then I did the average number of weekly contacts by quarter, and you can see that the drop-in contacts went from about 5 a week to 15 a week by the fourth quarter, so they tripled. And total contacts went from about 10 a week to 28, so they almost tripled as well. So the numbers went up a lot from January to December. Then I go into the unduplicated numbers, which means for any quarter, I'm counting the number of people who we had any contact with. So in the first quarter, there were 35 total people that we had contact with during that time, and by the fourth quarter, it was 63. So that gradually went up as well, and the unduplicated other contacts kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. And then I subtract from there the contacts with staff. So that's mentioned actually in the report. We're meant to be a backup, to be of support to staff working at the community center, staff at the senior center, volunteers at the shower program. And we have quite a bit of contact with those different programs, and I get calls in particular, and sometimes people drop in with concerns about a particular person they're seeing, who they would maybe like to have come see us. Sometimes just a general issue, maybe not about a particular person. We get calls from the police about homeless people, and sometimes neighbors who are concerned about especially about homeless people. We get quite a few calls from neighbors or business owners concerned about particular people who they are seeing on the street. So I did our unduplicated contacts for the year, and that came out to 257 after I subtracted the staff contacts. So it's 257 what I consider clients. And then I broke down the demographics for those folks, which is kind of interesting to us too, I think. The majority of people are seniors. Of the 257, 104 of them were in the age range of 62 to 79. And there is a group of people that we didn't really know their age. Sometimes people don't want to share that, and there are times, you know, when we talk to people on the phone, sometimes we don't always ask them their age or their ethnicity. But we are seeing definitely a lot of seniors, and it may be in part because we're right next door to the senior center. And for quite a long time, for about a year, before I came on, after Allison left, before I came on, and then even for a couple months after I started, we were located right at the senior center. So people really thought of us as serving seniors, and sometimes even now people will come in and they're not sure if they're eligible because they're not a senior. So I don't know if that will change over time, if we'll start to see younger people, but it may also be that seniors are more in need of services. We're also seeing a majority women, which is not such a surprise, I don't think. Ethnicity, about 40% are European American, and then the breakdown of African American and Asian American and Latinx are around, I don't know how that comes out, about 10 or 12% maybe. Most people are Albany residents. We don't turn anyone away because of where they reside. And we do see, you know, there's quite a lot of people from North Berkeley who come in. They come to the Albany Senior Center, especially since the North Berkeley Senior Center is closed right now. So a lot of folks are coming to the Albany Senior Center. They may live on Solano Avenue, just over the line into Berkeley. And then some El Cerrito and Richmond residents. We also get calls from people who may not be in the area, but maybe they're concerned about an elderly parent or family member who is in Albany, and they're trying to help set up resources or services for that person and trying to find out what Albany has to offer. Most of the people we see are housed. Over the course of the year, out of our 257 unduplicated clients, 47 were homeless. And I think we've got a little bit of a reputation maybe in the community as serving homeless people in particular, and I don't know if that's because we work so closely with Albany Project Hope, which is serving homeless people, or if it's because homeless people are maybe more visible when they're coming in to our location. But most of the people we're seeing are not homeless, although we're seeing a lot of people who are at risk of becoming homeless. The service that was most popular, that most people are coming to see us for, is help with housing, and that is often searching for affordable housing or wanting to find out about affordable housing, but it may also be having a dispute with a landlord, trying to find a roommate, needing repairs made maybe on the home that they own, trying to help a family member find housing. So we try to stay on top of what is available in terms of housing so that we can be sort of a resource center, a place where we can gather information for people, because it's very hard these days for people to find that information, I would say. A lot of people who come in are just really coming to talk. They may have a problem they want to talk through and get advice around, or sometimes they just need to talk it through just to figure out what they want to do. They may not even know if they have a problem, but they're trying to figure that out. So we see a lot of people who we just talk with. I would say that's probably what the majority of the people who come in to see us come in because they just really want to talk. And we also give quite a lot of referrals to people. So probably 3/4 of the people we see, we're either just giving information to and talking with, or we're giving them a referral that they're going to follow up on, or maybe we're helping with a phone call. Maybe we're helping them call the referral place. And then about 25% of the people we see, we're doing more than that with. And I'll go into more detail about that. And the sorts of things we do, we will make calls for folks when that's difficult for them to do for themselves. We do research. Sometimes, they have questions or issues and it's not clear where to find the answer. We're not sure where to refer them. And so we'll call different agencies and find out what's the proper referral. We do help people fill out applications. Sometimes, write a letter, write a memo to their landlord or to a storage facility where they're keeping things. And we also often follow up with people to let them know what we found out, to give them further referrals, to see whether what we referred them to before worked out. We refer a lot of people to different housing resources, and we try to stay on top of what subsidized housing is taking applications right now and what they might be eligible for. And we have a lot of people who come in and we go over the different information with them. They may just be wondering what's out there, what might they be able to apply for, how long would it take, and we have a lot of information about that. And we refer people who are homeless. We refer for housing assistance and other assistance also to Berkeley Food and Housing Project, and our particular arm of that is called Albany Project Hope. We refer people for legal services. And we refer a lot of people for counseling around their health insurance. If they're on Medicare, then they can talk to someone from a group called HICAP, which is very helpful. And actually, once a month, a HICAP representative comes to the senior center. So that's a very good resource for us. And we have been asking people how they found out about CARES program, and the majority of people are through the senior center. But we're seeing more and more people who are coming from, having heard about us from other places, family members, city staff, on the website, flyers, and we're keeping a stand at the library/community center that I try to keep stocked, and that's got our information there as well. And the Showers program also refers quite a few people to us, and now we're getting people from the schools. High school counselors are starting to refer people to us. So those are our numbers. And, let's see, kind of discussed a lot of what's on here. Yes. Oh, and I mentioned about additional services we offer people. So we see a lot of people who have some level of cognitive difficulty. A lot of the seniors we see have at least something going on cognitively, whether they're forgetful or they're having trouble making decisions. It can be very difficult for folks to make phone calls and get through voicemail systems on their own. A lot of older people especially have difficulty with that. So sometimes things that seem simple to us can be daunting for someone else. We also have the internet at our usually working at our drop-in, and we see a lot of people who aren't that comfortable on the computer. It's hard for them to look things up, and of course you almost have to be able to use a computer these days to get information and to apply for housing, et cetera. So we're able to help people a lot with those things, and we do a lot of things with folks that really, for us, it's not a big deal, but for them it can make a big difference. We feel really good about the numbers of people we're seeing. It's exciting. It's nice when we're busy and people are coming in. In the beginning of the year, sometimes we were kind of sitting around and we weren't seeing a lot of people. So that feels good. We feel like we're needed. And in the beginning, we were doing a lot more outreach as well. We had time. The volunteers are mainly spending their time while they're at drop-in hours. So if we weren't busy, volunteers would go out and ask local businesses if we could post a flyer, and we would, discuss places to go and do outreach. But as we've gotten busier, we've been doing a lot less outreach. Partly we just don't have the time to do it, and it seems like a priority to be doing things for the people who have already come to see us rather than going to drum up business. We've had a lot of clients appreciate the ease with which they can come in and just sit right down with somebody and explain to them what's going on, because it's hard for people to even make a connection with a social service provider over the phone. They call places, they get into voicemail systems, they don't know what to say when they're leaving a message. Maybe if they get someone on the phone, the person can be kind of impatient. Some of our clients, it can take them a long time to express what it is that's going on. Often the first time someone comes in, we'll sit and talk with them for an hour and a half before we kind of identify maybe what they need or what the problem actually is. They may not know themselves what the problem is, or they may just have a hard time expressing it. So that feels like a good thing. I think it's harder and harder all the time for people to find a place where they can go and sit down and talk with someone. And feels like if that was all we did, it would still feel like that's doing quite a bit. But we've also seen success in other ways. We have seen people getting housed, and that, of course, is very reinforcing. We also see the difficulty to get people housed, and some of the folks that we've been working with for a long time, and some of the folks who are homeless, we're seeing how complicated it is to get them into housing. And we're helping people make connections with referrals that actually, you know, are the right place for them to go and where they're able to speak with someone. We've got a nice connection with Berkeley Mental Health, which is really great. So someone comes from Berkeley Mental Health, a therapist comes twice a month usually, and that's a nice way to connect someone in a more informal way. And of course, Berkeley Food and Housing, without that connection, we really wouldn't be able to get housing for our clients. So that's been great. Housing, affordable housing is a real challenge. Sometimes, you know, what we have to refer people to, and sometimes the news isn't good that we have to give people when they come in and they're renting and they're on a fixed income and their rent's going up, and, you know, there may not be anything for them in the area. And to apply for affordable housing is a very long process. So it can be really discouraging. And we're finding that it's difficult for people sometimes to get legal assistance. A lot of the legal services agencies are becoming very specialized, so unless the person is facing eviction or they are trying to get on SSI or they're a victim of domestic violence, there may not be very many people at legal agencies that will be able to spend much time talking to them. They become very specific around what and who they serve. And sometimes we're a little challenged by the number of people who come in. We can be very busy. If there's 2 volunteers and myself, and we have 4 or 5 new clients who come in and we've never met with them before, that can be very hard. We want people to feel welcome and comfortable when they come in. We don't want people to have to sit and wait to talk to someone the first time they come. But so far, I think we've been able to kind of maneuver to, I don't think we've lost any clients in that way. But we could use more volunteers, I think. So that's enough for me.
So now we have time for questions from commission and also after that, public comments. Questions from the commission?
Okay. I wanted to thank you for providing this information. One of the questions I had, I was going to ask about the volunteers. How are you marketing or trying to get volunteers to come in to help? Because it does sound like you've become very busy. I guess I would be afraid that if someone's there that need urgent assistance and you're with someone and it's yourself and 2 other volunteers, that they will walk away and not get the assistance they're needing. So I guess the goal would be trying to figure out how we can attract more volunteers to come during the hours that are available. So I wanted to hear what you have in place right now.
Yeah, that's a good question. We have been advertising for volunteers through the community center.
Okay.
They actually were just having a volunteer week, I think is what it was called, and I gave them specifics kind of what we're looking for and what sorts of things people would be able to do if they volunteered with us. I have talked to folks at the senior center, because that's actually where a lot of our volunteers have come from. And really, just by word of mouth, we haven't done a lot of outreach around getting volunteers. That's a good question, and I don't know how originally the volunteers were found.
Did you want to say something?
I
Isabel?
just wanted to also add that something that the Commission may not be aware of is that I'm also now the Director of the Recreation and Community Services Department, and as part of that role, I've been tasked with integrating the services into the department, so Albany CARES, Albany Project Hope, and as part of that, we're working with the Senior Center staff to provide additional support to the Albany CARES Program. So that is in transition at this time.
Okay.
So. And we've seen, I don't know, you can speak to it a little bit more, but, having a little bit more of a staff backing up Anne-Marie, and Anne-Marie having the people that she can go to for assistance has been helpful.
And without going into, too many details, essentially that does mean kind of reallocating some staff time to be a support in busy time periods.
Yes. So basically, Anne-Marie has the support of the senior center staff as well now. So if she is, if there is more clients than she can handle, she can certainly call in to the senior center and ask for someone to come in and be there as a greeter. Or we don't have anybody at the senior center with the expertise that Anne-Marie has, but definitely there are people available who do assistance and referrals for seniors at the senior center and can be there as to listen and to greet people as they wait to talk to Anne-Marie.
That's great. And that's already begun, or that's in the process?
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the amount of, as Janelle noted, the sort of rate of increase, as you noted, is pretty startling, right? And if you start thinking, even if it plateaued at the fourth quarter, you'd be looking like 700 to 750 over the next year.
Yeah.
Much less if it kept growing at that rate.
Right.
And so it's pretty startling to think about how quickly it could either become more than one could handle, or become so big that people, the Yogi Bear, it's too, no one goes there anymore, it's too popular, right?
Right, yeah, that's true.
But it sounds like you all have plans in place for dealing with your success.
I think so, and it's kind of a work in progress. We have gained one regular volunteer. We've had other people come in who were interested, but they didn't follow through. And I would say it's a specific kind of person, really, who enjoys doing this and is good at doing it. It takes some certain kinds of talents. Yeah.
And since, a lot of the people that Anne-Marie sees are seniors, leveraging the resources at the senior center to support the program, makes a lot of sense.
So I was volunteering there this last week, and 3 women came in. They were cousins. One lived in Albany, one lived in Walnut Creek, one in Philadelphia, and they were moving an elderly mother out here, and they thought she would like to live in Albany, so they had a lot of questions about housing and services and everything. But one of the women said, well, is there a place like CARES in Walnut Creek? And the answer was no. And I'm really proud, of our community that we're taking this project on and supporting it in the way that it's being supported. So with that in mind, when we make a recommendation to the City Council, there was one person that came in, he'd gotten out of the hospital, he wanted a BART ticket so he could follow up on a doctor's appointment. And, we didn't have any BART tickets, but a staff person from the senior center said, oh, I have a couple BART tickets, they're here, and then I gave the guy some money. But, would it be helpful to have like a stack of BART tickets? Like when we go to the City Council, are there certain things that would be really helpful for you to have that you don't have right now?
Having BART tickets would be great. I was supposed to write a grant request for the Community Foundation to do that, and I never did. We actually got a grant to get Safeway vouchers, but I have to go to Safeway and get an invoice and to get the check, and, I just haven't had a chance to do those things. Yeah, I think it would be great for us to have BART tickets to hand out.
Is there anything else you could think of you'd like? I mean, you can think about it. It doesn't, our recommendation, we could work on it again next month, but think about what we would say to the city council, what you need to make it even more successful.
Okay.
And thank you for all of your dedication and hard work, because I know you're really working beyond what you should be, so thank you.
Yes, thank you. Do we have comments or questions from the public? If you please come up and please state your name.
I don't think they have to.
Oh, they don't have to. I'm sorry. You could just please come up. You do not have to. You are welcome to, but not obligated. I apologize.
I'm Susan Renaud. One thing that would be super helpful at CARES is a working computer. It's just so necessary. Many of the people that come in could benefit. And it's been working, maybe I would say 12%, 10% of the time that I've been there. So it's very bad. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's something, actually. So one of the people who's been assigned to help us from the senior center is Jess, and this is something he's working on, because it's just an ongoing problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other, please.
Yeah.
No, you have to.
I think-
My name is Antoinette, and I'm a volunteer at Albany CARES. Just on the note of the computer, I happened to be at the center all day today, and they had IT people there, so I'm hoping this is a positive note. I was told that one of the issues was that one of the events that goes on at the center, the feeling is that needs to be turned off, that the Wi-Fi produces bad energy, so they're turning the computer and the Wi-Fi off. And then I was also told, I'm not a tech person, I'm just telling you this. And then I was also told that one of the connections or something was bad and they were replacing it. So they were at Albany CARES working, they were at the senior center working, so let's just hope that it's going to be positive now, okay? But again, turning things on and off apparently is not good.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, they have this.
Hi, I'm Peter Campbell, as some of you know anyway. I'm a property owner and resident of Albany, and in spite of living in Albany and having my property in Albany, I am a member of the Berkeley Rotary Club. And the Rotary Club does community projects locally and worldwide. Our club goes to Mexico, goes to Guatemala, it's been to Russia, it's been a number of places on various projects in addition to what we do here in the community. One of our committees is called the Supportive Housing Committee, and they put together with the City of Berkeley this Homeless Services Resource Guide. And it seems to me something like this might be something that you could use, Anna Marie, or perhaps you could even join us in putting information together on this. There's a lot of information in here. I'm not on that committee, so I don't know exactly what they do, but I know that they distribute this. I think they take it out into the homeless community. They have it I think they have it in the libraries. They have it in, I believe, senior centers and so on. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but
Yeah, we distributed them when they were first available.
Yeah.
So we had them at all of our city facilities as well.
great.
We have them at CARES, too.
Yeah.
We do. We have them at CARES, and I also stock the library box with them. And they're so popular that I've had to request another batch twice now. And
great.
I've gotten them. They've been great. They've gotten them right
Great.
to us.
You might want to talk to us about getting some of the things that you know about that are not in here, because we cover Berkeley, Oakland, and Emeryville, I believe, in terms of the services that are in here. No reason why we couldn't include Albany also, even though there's an Albany Rotary Club. I don't know that they're doing this sort of thing. They have their own projects that they do. And I just wanted to bring this to your attention if you weren't aware of it, and
Great,
it can be useful.
thanks.
Thank you so much. Any other public comments or questions?
So I am Patrice Lemay. I've been living in Albany for more than 40 years. I kept a low profile for a very long time, not on the internet, but in Albany. And I've been struck by many developments. The developer decided to develop Albany Hill Park, which many people use. It's a long story. The thing was bought by Hong Kong Chinese in 1969. 2 years after endangered species had been determined to exist on Albany Hill, they said they will never develop it. And then we are like 50 years later, and they decide to develop it. Now, as they develop it, some people in the city use the argument that there will be affordable units inside this development. That's beyond grotesque. Some of the I computed 26, I think, of the structure to be built will, at market prices right now, be $4 million. $4 million. Basically, nobody in Albany can afford any of those. And there are 3 stories. Because of Measure K, you can build up to 3 stories, so each is 3 stories. But the last 20 feet, because Albany Hill is steep, are excavated. It's hard rock, they will have to use dynamite. And so 20 feet below the present ground, behind the double car garage, because this is for wealthy people, they need 2 cars, and behind the laundry room, there will be the affordable dwelling unit, okay? That's, I mean, not even if you had slaves, you won't make them live in subterranean conditions like that, because you will get rickets or other diseases. So this is a bad joke, okay? And the real problem in Albany is to build affordable housing. I mean, you cannot keep on going in. You have 1,000 square feet bungalows, which cost 1.2 million, okay? Now, I knew somebody who was a very long-term resident in Albany. He was basically born here. He was Mr. Artis, he was a lawyer. When he retired, he had to buy in Berkeley. So now he's living in Berkeley, actually above Trader Joe. Why can't we have similar structures in Albany? Well, because of Measure K, because we cannot build above 3 stories. So the first thing to do to build affordable housing is to do what Berkeley is doing, build in height. And for that, we have to repeal Measure K, because otherwise, more and more senior and other people will not be able to afford Albany. I live in Gateview. You have lots of people in Gateview now who have taken reverse mortgages. And I don't know where they are going, because the HOA dues are climbing at an extremely quick pace for a number of reasons. These people are going to be thrown out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think it is important to address the underlying issues. Obviously, Albany CARES can't resolve those in and of itself, but we will be talking about the housing forum a little bit later in our meeting. And so we'll keep coming. I'm sorry?
You are going to address this further?
So there'll be a presentation about a forum that we're,
Well, not a
or an
presentation, but
update,
just-
an
just-
update about a housing forum that is coming. But
Interested by Measure
yeah.
K, so if you are going to talk about it, I still.
Okay, I don't think we're going to talk about Measure K.
It's going to be a brief update because Commissioner Grossman
Right.
is not here.
Okay.
So it's not going to be a
Yeah.
very
Yeah. Okay.
substantial
Thank you.
update.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else from the commission?
Yeah, I want to go back to the resources and how we can formulate partnerships, like, you know, getting BART tickets and maybe Target gift cards or something. I think if we can sit down and find out what you need, as far as, you know, you said something about computers and things like that, and we can outline, you know, what is the immediate need, and maybe we can formulate a plan on how we can develop some of these partnerships to get the things we need in order to run, you know, the program to run functional. I guess my concern is that as the numbers grow, more people are going to come, and like you said, like he said, that we don't want them to, you know, be turned away because we don't have the resources. So I know over time, I think if we develop a plan to formulate partnerships, we can get this done. So I'd be interested in learning more on how we can do that.
would you like to respond? Or, I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I didn't want to cut you off if you had something you wanted to say.
We can use all the help we can get. I'd love to talk about how we can get some more volunteer assistance.
Yeah, that would be,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, okay.
All right. Thank you so much for all your work and for such a informative update. We really
Thanks for the
appreciate it.
support from this commission.
Thank you.
All right. Our next agenda item is to review our work plan.
Just before moving on, so is the commission planning to come back at the next meeting with some more formal recommendations?
Yeah, could we put it on the agenda and then, yeah, and work on the recommendations during the month maybe, and
Okay.
And then that'll give us time to discuss what the need is and then formulate a plan on what we should recommend for the city to consider. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Next agenda item is a review of our commission work plan, which you can see begins on the pages after this. And thank you. I don't know if it was, pardon? No. I don't know if it was you, Isabel, or if it was Sid who laid it out like this, but it's very helpful. Or
It was
if
a
both of
group
you.
effort.
Group effort, all right.
Yes.
We can share the praise.
Very good.
And we can see here the pieces of the work plan update that we, in February 2019, and the pieces of this that have a status update either pending or coming. And this is also, I think, a good, lead-in for us to reconstitute our subcommittees, or to make sure that our subcommittees are staffed with the transition that we have in the commission. And then my hope, if it's amenable to the others, is that if we can leave this meeting today with the subcommittees, once again staffed, that we could on March have a update from those subcommittees about either, updates to the status as is, or updated goals for how to continue to work to fulfill, how the subcommittees can work to fulfill our work plan for 2020. My experience, I don't have Commissioner Marks or Commissioner Grossman's length of experience with the commission, but my sense is that historically much of the impetus and the drive and the originality and creativity has come from those subcommittees. So to ask the subcommittees, once we reconstitute them, to give us an update at the March meeting about their, either clarifying status or pointing toward some next goals. Does that make sense? Do you all want to go piece by piece through the work plan update? I have a couple of individual things that I can, that are laid out here, but that I can point to.
yeah, so you would start with objective 2, is
With
that what you're looking
objective
at?
two, right.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sure, I
So
think.
we can do this
Yeah.
relatively speedily. So objective 2 was promote housing availability and quality. And we see that in the first is the review of progress toward housing element policies with community development staff once per year, and that is slated or scheduled for either the May or June meeting. We have the review new multifamily housing proposals. Right now, that doesn't have a status, so that's something that either housing subcommittee, or if we had an additional subcommittee, could think about how to engage with that. Investigate funding sources, state and regional housing initiatives to increase affordable housing in the Bay Area and implications.
Can you just, I just want to interject something here. It was in the news a lot about those 4 moms in Oakland,
Yes.
that took over a house, and now they're going to be able to buy the house. But they formed this foundation in Oakland so people could put money into it to put toward buying housing, making housing affordable. And I'd really like to see us do something like that in Albany, because the housing is just so expensive,
Right.
Nobody can afford to buy here anymore. Well, nobody I know, but. So I think, I really like the idea of a community foundation. I mean, we already have an Albany Community Foundation, but a foundation just for housing.
Focused on housing.
Yeah, that would give grants maybe to people, or, help, like, whatever. But I'd really like us to look into that, to see what Oakland's doing and see what we can do along those same lines.
Right. That's a great idea. And we have there the status update, and we'll get some more on this after we finish with the work plan on on the Housing Subcommittee and their plan for a housing forum. And then the rent review program, which we've received updates on, and we're scheduled for an additional, review scheduled in March 2020. Under Engage Our Diverse Community, on the second page, we receive updates on Albany CARES, and with as we've seen, review and evaluate Albany Project Hope, and we've received consistent updates on Albany Project Hope, input on outreach efforts regarding information on low-income senior tax exemptions, and we have an upcoming review there in April. Input on ways to equalize burden on future and existing measures. That just says review when applicable. If you'd like, we can review things that are, that might come up on the November ballot if this is, if this is something of interest.
Can I just back you up for, okay, I'm
For
going
sure.
back to the provide input for outreach efforts regarding information on low-income senior tax exemption. It seems to me we should be working on that before April, because people will file their tax, have to file their taxes by April, right? So
Should we?
I would just like, maybe next month we could get, I don't know, who does the outreach on these senior tax exemptions?
So basically, this is an application that is due on June 1st of every year and is put out by our finance department towards the end of April.
Okay.
And as part of the role of the commission is to review the outreach material and give us input or feedback on the application. And then we'll also provide you, as part of that staff report, the outreach that we do year-round to, and at the Albany CARES Program, to build awareness of all of the exemptions, not just the the parcel tax or the renters rebate information, but all of the exemptions that seniors are that are available to seniors. So you will provide that. We will be able to provide you that report in April.
Okay, so
So we wouldn't be able to do anything that would be effective for this tax season.
No, but this is for the future. You've
Right,
already
that's what I'm
provided
saying.
input
Right,
for this
right.
tax season, so this one is for the next tax season.
And I think, and if I'm wrong, I think you were saying like we should jump on that right now because taxes are due, but that would be for the information
right, for
from.
Next year, yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Also, just a second here, my brain is gone. I noticed, like last year, the city sent out a postcard about the tax exemption, but it didn't include the school taxes on it. So is that because it's from the school board and this, like,
Right, so we advertise, we provide outreach for the city.
okay?
Yeah, the city
But
measures.
can't we include the school in, I mean, it's a
We
tax.
do provide a link on
Yeah,
the postcard
right.
to information on other exemptions, but we
Okay.
cannot advertise, for the school district.
Right. Isn't that two different entities?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I mean,
we do
it's just
provide a link.
different, but if she provides if there's a link, they can
Yeah.
go there, but it's not gonna
Yeah.
work
If the
together.
computer works.
And by the way, that computer is going to get fixed.
All right.
Yeah, or we're going to replace it. It's not going to, we're going to do that for sure.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Objective 3, continue to promote community-wide inclusivity. So identify service needs to support aging in place, including steps toward an aging in place strategic plan, and the Aging in Place Subcommittee, of which Margie has had updates, and we can have additional ones if, this meeting and in future, if necessary. We appreciate your work there. Develop a model for an annual Albany Diversity Report Card and a survey on inclusivity. The Inclusivity Subcommittee reformed last year with Judy and myself. SEJC, as we talked about, approved a inclusivity diversity resolution in December 2019. I talked with Mayor Pilch in January, and it is, as it says here, slated to go before council on the February 18th, 2020 meeting. So I am planning to be there, and anyone else who would like to be there to speak on it, that would be great. Certainly encourage on any issues that we feel, strongly about, for any of us to go to talk to Mayor Pilch or to any of the council members, regardless of who appointed you individually. So this should come up on February 18th. In order to make public the information the city already has on diversity and inclusivity within its workforce, and hopefully provide an impetus toward measuring that for things like commissions. The Inclusivity Social Justice Impact Report, similarly, SEJC recommended the inclusion of these in staff reports at an action in September 2019. We have it printed here, but do you want to just give us the what's been going on with the beta mode, or do you have more to offer from here?
I think, yes, if you look at some of the staff reports that have been going to council, there is a new section in the staff report which is called, it's a social equity impact. Let me see if I can find one. quickly. So basically what it is the staff is, the city manager is rolling it out slowly. As you can imagine, it's something that needs careful attention, and there's some education that needs to happen around that. And so we're rolling it out slowly and but surely.
Okay.
Yes. I wanted to show you if I can find a staff report, maybe from, I don't think this one has it. There was one, I think, at the not last night, but the night before, the week before. The week before. I can see if there's one on this one. No. Yeah, so.
Okay.
Anyways, if you continue talking, I can continue looking.
Thank you.
So.
And, we can, come back to these, but my hope is I'm grateful to staff for implementing it. Mm-hmm. And B, that, I think part of our goal in passing it was for us to periodically review those, just for us to be able to engage with the process, both in helping staff, and also in helping us assess some of the impacts of these pieces of legislation. And Objective 4, promote health and wellness, and this will take us to something that we will come back to in just a couple of minutes of another agenda item, which is about our recommendations to council each year on the revenues generated by the Sugar-Sweetened Beverage Tax. And so we will very shortly restart our discussion on, or kind of prime the pump for our discussion of our recommendations for the upcoming year. Do you have something you want to show us, Isabel?
There you go.
Look like, okay.
So this is a staff report that was written for the January 21st, 2020 council agenda, and it was a resolution to support the SAHA project grant application. And as you can see, the staff report has been modified to include a sustainability considerations and a social equity considerations. And it was a little bit of information regarding that. So the future development of Albany family housing will provide new affordable housing opportunities in the city of Albany.
Thank you.
So.
All right, thank you.
We really appreciate it, and we're grateful to staff for working on it, and we look forward to keeping working with staff and reviewing them. To keep the work of the subcommittees going, we should talk about how we want to constitute them. I did ask Bart and Judy to let me know of their interests. As we all know, with a 5-person commission, a subcommittee cannot be bigger than 2 without running into, where if it becomes bigger than 2, then it needs to have a agenda posted before it meets and to meet in public places. Is that roughly correct, Isabel? Mm-hmm. Yes. So at 2, they can meet, doesn't, raise any quorum issues for the commission, and they can meet as they wish. At present, because of that, the subcommittee's formal members just include members of the commission, but we have always said that subcommittees may informally consult with anyone they would like, whether a community member or an expert or anyone like that. So that, remains true. As of, unless I'm missing something, we closed last year with an aging in place, housing, and inclusivity as 3 subcommittees that we had. So I think, does it make sense to kind of, I'll put on the table what I heard from Judy and Bart and people here to put on the table, and if it all lines up, then that's great, and if it doesn't, we'll sort of think about how to balance it. Is that okay? So Judy expressed that her, strongest interests were in housing and in aging in place, and as her 2 strongest interests. Bart expressed, and I can go back to the text of these emails if anyone would like to see, or if they're watching, you can, weigh in, Bart and Judy. Bart expressed that his strongest interest was in aging. And that he was also, understood the importance of the housing forum and of helping the housing, of at least staying on housing in order to make sure that the forum runs, though it seemed, I could be reading into it, that he's, flexible on the timing of that, either sooner or later. Other people's interests, we should not have, right now we're starting with what we would do abstractly, so don't feel limited by me saying, what they would like.
Go ahead. Well, I'm obviously into the aging.
Yes.
So, I want to stay with that.
Yes.
I'm also very interested in housing, but, I understand. I'll put that aside for others, so. But if Judy and Bart want to both do the aging thing, that's interesting, because I could, like Judy, I'm sure she could meet now, you know what I mean?
Right,
she
right.
can't go to a meeting at a place, but
Right.
she could probably participate in her.
Well, we could think about having, anyway.
Yeah,
Sorry,
okay,
but
so
thank you
anyway,
for
okay,
that.
so
We'll
that's,
talk about
those
that in
are
a second,
mine.
but
So, yeah, I'm really, I would really like to pursue this thing about getting a foundation or getting some kind of fund in Albany about housing,
Yes.
so.
Janelle, what are your interests?
I think we talked about diversity and inclusivity, so that would be something I want to work on.
And I am interested in remaining on inclusivity. So that would give that a 2-person committee.
Okay.
Then we have this, embarrassment of riches on the others, which which is that depending on, kind of reading Judy and Bart's, interests about, potentially 3 people interested in both of those, both housing and aging. Maybe if I'm reading Bart correctly, particularly on aging. So we can, assess that and ask people to reflect on that. Another possibility would be of thinking about if we have this kind of energy of looking at a 4th subcommittee. There's a sort of magic number where it gets to be so,
Right,
so many that
yes.
we can't fill it, but it also may well be that if we have 5 active people, that if we have 3 subcommittees at 2 slots each, that's not actually,
Yeah.
we're not actually risking overtaxing people who want to do multiple ones. So another possibility would be thinking about divvying housing in 2 in some, or aging in 2 in some way that, was logical and saved work rather than replicating work.
Yeah.
Absent the people being here, I'm reluctant.
So what
to
is
go-
your interest, Greg?
So diversity inclusive.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm glad to help to staff a second one, though that's not our main problem right now.
Right.
So I think we can, so I think it's hard for me to picture absent, kind of mind reading into their emails, exactly the best resolution to the aging and housing. With my inclination is for the next month, until we meet again, to actually ask if you and Bart would be on both housing and aging in case Judy is not available. And then we can work out in March if Judy is ready to step into them, and then we could, look at stepping away. But it looks like that doesn't sit right with you.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the housing, and I have some ideas about the forum, but, I could step away from that.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just stay with aging.
Okay. So how about for now?
So I was just thinking, with Judy,
Yeah, I would recommend probably waiting for the
Yeah,
two
for them
members
to
to
come.
be
Okay.
here at the next meeting and maybe conclude that
Okay.
session with them present.
Yeah, and we can,
yeah,
we can
because there's
discuss it
been
on the
quite a-
agenda, yeah.
There's been quite a bit of work that, on the housing forum done, and to me, it would be a little strange to change the subcommittee
Yeah.
members, because we've started a process
Right.
towards, the implementation of the housing forums.
can I ask a question about the process? Okay, I got an email from EBHO saying they're doing their calendar for Affordable Housing Week. So I sent it to Sid and asked Sid to send it to Bart. But that was I know Bart wanted us to get our forum on that calendar. So is
Yeah,
there?
There's an update. I mean, I
Okay,
can go
okay.
towards I can talk about the update now as part of the work plan, and because it's pretty brief. But basically, in my last conversation with Bart, he wanted to wait for Judy to be back, and also was amenable to the idea to potentially postpone the forum to a later date when there's more clarity on the housing laws that are coming, and also getting a better idea of who the panelists would be. And he just felt like he wanted more time to do the forum well, and that right now things felt a little rushed. But, it could be that when Judy gets back, the momentum will. But there's been some work. We did meet with the Jeff Bond, the Community Development Director, and Sid, and Bart has made some calls to Nancy Skinner's office. And so there's work that has been done to date, and there's also been some contacts with EBHO, with the executive director of EBHO.
Okay, great.
So,
Thank you. And is that the?
That's
mid-chunk
basically-
capacity,
yes, yes.
Update on the housing forum. Okay. So is there, my only, before we sort of move on from the subcommittees, is there anything that needs to be done over the next month by housing or aging where, even if we just set it for a month and said we're going to reconstitute, because they're not set in stone.
Right.
If there was something we needed to do this month on a subcommittee.
I don't think so.
Okay. If it's primarily, planning, then it does make sense for the planning to be by the people who will stay on it.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we'll, complete the staffing subcommittee next month. Is that?
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
good.
great.
Yes.
All right. Is this an update from the
Yes,
aging
yes,
subcommittee?
yes, it
Before we
is.
finish with the work plan?
So we're moving on to this update, and there were copies in the back for people.
there's no update on aging in place on the agenda, so, I
Right.
mean, this can be part of the work plan update, but,
Okay, so I should just wait and
Or
not.
can we make it part of the work plan update?
it's pretty
aging creation-
extensive, and it's not part of the status.
Okay, I just assumed that it would be an ongoing, because I gave an initial report last month, and then I was following up on suggestions that the other commissioners made about changes, so.
Right. Sorry about that. We
That's,
didn't
I
think
guess
there
I
would be an
misunderstood,
update.
sorry.
Maybe we can put it on next month. That'll
Yes,
give
of
us
course.
time to review it, and then we can interject some ideas and thoughts on what you've presented here. Okay?
Is it possible to simply have a recurring agenda item that is
Well, we've had some comments about that, because some community members will come in and think that there's an update, and when there's nothing, then they feel very disappointed to have waited for an update and there's no update. So we try to only put the items that we know have updates.
Yeah.
So if there is a
Yes.
subcommittee update, we want to make sure to.
You want to let us know, and usually we send an email letting us, asking you if you have an update and if you have any information to share with the commission and that you want included in the packet, to send it to us, the Monday before the packet is posted. So
And
there
then
is a
I'll-
process.
I will email a copy of this to you.
Yes,
so
and
you
we
can
will
send out to
include it
everybody.
in the packet for next month.
Great,
Yes.
all right, that's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so the next item is the Sugar-Sweetened Beverage Tax,
Yes.
which I know we have dealt with in the past, but do you want to give a kind of
Sure.
introduction to us to make sure that we all are on
Right.
the same page?
Yes. So the recommendation is that the Social and Economic Justice Commission shall prepare a recommendation for the use of sugar-sweetened beverage tax proceeds for fiscal year 2021, which includes the months of July 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2021. So a little bit of background. In November 2016, Albany voters approved Measure 01, a tax on sugar-sweetened beverages. Per the ordinance language, the council shall hold a study session annually to receive input and recommendations regarding the expenditure proceeds from the tax and solicit recommendations from a number of organizations, including the city's Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Commission. I didn't change them. The Social and Economic Justice Commission, Traffic and Safety Commission, which is now called Transportation Commission, and a designated representative from the Albany Unified School District, and individuals with specialized expertise in areas such as health issues and programs relating to diabetes, obesity, and sugar drink consumption. So the SCJC prepared a SSB recommendation, which is attached to this staff report as attachment 1 for the council study session on April 1st, 2019, so last year's study session. The council approved the fiscal year 2020 sugar-sweetened beverage tax expenditure plan, which is also attached to your staff report, on May 6, 2019. The plan allocated funding for the installation of water bottle filling station, the crossing guard program, free nutrition, cooking, gardening classes, free fitness classes in parks, the Safe Route to School program, and the Healthy Me Music and Movement program in schools. So the Social and Economic Justice Commission shall prepare a recommendation now for the next workshop, which will be held in April, and it is most probably going to be on the second meeting of the council in April on the 20th. And at that time, we ask that a representative of the commission, usually the chair, be available to present the recommendation at the workshop. And the workshop is usually held an hour or an hour and a half before the regular council meeting. Just a fiscal financial impact, the city has received a total of $653,075 in revenue from the SSB tax since its inception. The appropriation of funds for both fiscal years was $594,000, and the city expects approximately to receive $250,000 to be available in fiscal year 2021. So about the same.
Mm-hmm. So I saw it on one of the documents, I can't find it right now, but where it listed the school crossing guards, because that's, so, and I think it was 125,000, but I'm not sure now, but.
It's,
Oh, it's up there, okay. So should we be subtracting the 130 and consider that that is going to, that's a given, that's where 130,000.
well, I'm not sure that it's a given, but
Well-
it most probably will be, it will be recommended again this, for this year.
What I've heard from a couple of city council members,
Yes.
that, I mean, so that's, so that money is there. So then then that would give 120,000 to spend, okay?
And if I recall from last year, we don't have to follow that again this year, but Our sense was that because of the number of commissions weighing in and because of the number of things that different city council members present, that rather than imagining we're writing the budget of it, that we would, which we're not, right? And in fact, I don't think any of our recommendations actually made it to the budget this past year. That we were better off focusing on targeting, you know, a smaller number of things in hope of getting the council's attention on those. Certainly we're not obligated to that, but it is a potential strategy as we brainstorm over the next, let's see, we would need, remind me, make sure I understood you correctly, Isabel, if we can still vote on this at the April meeting. No, we need to complete it.
March, I would say March. I mean,
Next meeting.
potentially April, but that would be cutting it close,
Okay.
yes. But you could. April would also be okay if, yeah, you could, because we pushed it to the April 20th meeting.
It's not April, I think one of the things says April 6th, but it's April 20th.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry, yes.
No,
Yes.
things change, that's good. Okay, so I think it would be great for us to come in with a sense of what would be, one or a small number of things that we would really like to get on the council's attention. As you can see, we had, I think, some ones last year that had strong support on the commission, including the idea of trying to get mobile medical clinics, the mobile dental clinics, and monthly wellness clinics. And we could decide to, come back and to try and present a more detailed explanation on things like projected costs and so on, in hopes of getting one of those back on. But we could also consider something new, or we could look at the ongoing offerings and decide that we would like to weigh in to, support something that's ongoing. The water bottle filling stations has been completed, is that right?
So there's
That
been,
90,000 has been spent.
not fully, because we're still in the process of installing them. So
Okay.
we've installed one here at City Hall. We're looking at different options for the senior center, and there are probably going to be a few more installed on the Ohlone Greenway,
I see.
where there's existing water sources.
And that would still come from the 90,000 allocated
Yes.
last year?
Yes.
Got it. So if there were a new item for that, it would be presumably for
New
something beyond
funding,
what it
yes.
had been. And if not, then that money might well become available for other potential programs.
Right, yeah. Well, as you can see, the expenditure plan that was approved last year was $305,000, so a little bit beyond the $250,000, but we expected that there'd be a fund balance from the previous year, so we're doing fine.
And there continues to be a projection of good news, bad news, of a decline in consumption of these beverages, which was partly the goal.
Yes.
But a continuing reduction in expectations of future revenue.
Yes, yes.
But 250 is.
But the decline is slow.
Okay.
You know.
Bad news, good news, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Just to give you a little bit of an overview, the Recreation Department has been providing free nutrition, cooking, and gardening, actually free nutrition and cooking classes to adults and youth, and also cooking camps to youth over the summer, and also free fitness classes in the parks, Tai Chi, gentle yoga, some dance parties, and those have been well received, and that's been going on. And then, as you mentioned, the Crossing Guard program has been ongoing as well, and the Safe Route to School program, and the Healthy Me Music and Movement program in the schools. So basically, this is a program that was specifically designed to include awareness of the effects of drinking sugary drinks, and and through music and movement, young kids in kindergarten, preschools, and transition kindergartens have been able to learn about the benefits of drinking water and milk and eating fruits.
Not as a recommendation of the commission, but just as a from a client, as a parent of the youth one, there's one aspect of it, I think they're great. My sense is that the ones that got made free, several of them then filled, the impact of that was that they filled immediately. And I wonder if it's worth contemplating whether this, if you use the same amount to do a 50% reduction and serve twice as many people or something like that.
Yes, and I think
that it
what
might
we
have a bigger
learned,
impact.
we learned a few things
Yeah,
by
no,
providing free classes, and we're working through those, those issues, and some of the things we've considered is maybe, right now, there's a limit as to how many classes one resident can take, and it was 2, so maybe now we do 1. You can only, so to let more people benefit from the free classes. So we're looking at different options like that.
All right, what about expanding the classes?
Yeah, it also depends on the availability of the instructors, because all these classes and camps are provided by contract to the instructors.
So we didn't get the soda tax money for it, but it brought attention to the fact that we needed podiatry services. So we now have podiatry services free of charge for Albany residents at the senior center. So it's fantastic. And we have someone doing blood pressure checks there too, so it's really good.
So I think if we each, and then maybe we can, convey to, I can convey to Bart and Judy separately so that we don't get a Brown issue, that we could each come in with ideas next meeting about, things that we'd like for us to consider for targeted suggestions, remembering that council's unlikely to take a complete budget from us, but hopefully we could weigh in on one or a small number of things they'd consider.
And I would recommend that any message to Judy and Bart come through staff, yes. So if there's anything you'd like me to convey to them, please let me know, and I'm happy to send them an email.
Okay.
Thank you. And for the time being, through you or back through Sid?
If it's, this week or next week, probably through me, but then after that, it can be through Sid.
Do we have any additional public comment? Thank you. Future agenda items, we mentioned aging in place.
That's right.
I would hope that we'll have a inclusivity subcommittee report, not report, but just status update. And any other agenda items anyone wants to add?
No, not at this time.
And again, we should get a email from Sid, the week before when we can still add up to that point. All right, next meeting, is it right that it's Wednesday, March 4th? Just want to make sure.
It's a Wednesday?
Yes, because there's elections on March 3rd.
Elections
So
on
that
Tuesday,
pushes the meeting to Wednesday.
Okay. Wednesday, March 4th, in this chamber. Do we need a motion?
To adjourn? So moved.
You can, but
Discussion? Ayes, all right. Thank you so much.
thank you for
Isabel.
coming.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.